God. Whenever you said that for the universe, it's
If you do that, let me make it clear so that I totally understand, but you're really not getting it.
I think I am getting it.
You're not, because here's what it means. Your question, I understand your question. You're trying to say, look, you can put God in there, and I could just say the universe. Why God and not just the universe have these attributes? If the universe has the attribute of a first principle, then now we're talking about Spinoza's God. It means that the universe has intention. It means the universe set the reasons as to how interactions would happen, not just that they did. That is a difference. Is that what you're asking? Is that what you're saying? Are we talking about Spinoza's God?
Restate what you said. I couldn't really hear.
So the difference is that if the universe has an intent, a willful intent, that if this happens, then this will happen, or here's how these things happen.
Can we stay there? What do you mean the universe has a willful intent?
No, I'm saying if the universe is a first principle, that means that it is intention. Are you saying that? If so, then you adhere to Spinoza's God, that the universe itself is responsible for the workings of the universe itself.
What's the problem with that?
There is no problem. We now agree that there is a God, but that's Spinoza's God.
No. Here. So you're saying, why can't the universe give laws to the universe? Is that what you're asking?
That's what I'm asking.
So what's the contradiction? What's the P and not P?
No, there is no contradiction. That's what I'm saying. I believe that.
How are you implementing a supernatural being onto this?
Supernatural, this is what it would mean. It means
when I talk about God, I'm talking about an intelligent creator, by the way.
Yes. And what does an intelligent creator do?
You tell me.
An intelligent creator sets the rules. So if the universe
sets the rules,
right? The intelligent creator sets the rules, like an author, and says, this is how things work because I said it does. If the universe did that, then the universe is God.
The universe didn't. I don't agree. How do you know that the universe had a willful intent? I don't agree.
What I'm saying is, we don't know that using.
Here's my problem with you. You keep making an argument for something, presupposing that we know one thing, and then I ask you about it, and then you go back and then you say, oh, we don't know. So you're asking a bunch of presuppositions.
No, it's not a presupposition. How can it be a presup if I just concede that we cannot know?
This is
what was the whole point of your argument?
Can I ask you something? Because I'm not even following, like, what exactly were you saying about, like, there needs to be a first principle or what? I'm not even sure I understood what you were saying.
This is how simple it is. I'm going to say, I'm just going to use gravity. Gravity works a certain way. The first principle question is, why does it work that way? Not how, but why anything does what it does the way that it does what it does, right? Why is 1 1? Why is the number 1 1? Like, the question seems almost absurd. Like, it just is 1. Yeah, right. But why?
Why do we need to know a why?
We don't. But the point is that to answer the question, why 1 is the way that it is. That is indicative of the first principle. That this principle it sets the rules for how things are and why things are the way they are. That is something that is intent. That would be first intention.
Wait a second. But how are you defining first principle?
I define first principle as the underlying root for everything that we can observe and everything that is reality. It is the premise. It is the axiom.
Wait, what do you mean by? Okay, well, wait. Wait a second. Hang on. Do first principle and axiom, do those mean the same thing or do those mean different things?
Same thing.
Okay,
self-evident.
What do you mean by axiom?
An axiom is something that's self-evident. There's one thing, and we look at it and we go, yeah, there's just one thing. It's as simple as it gets.
So by first principle, you just mean a statement that's self-evidently true.
not a statement, but that which is self-evident and true.
So yeah, okay. So like a proposition that's self-evidently true.
A proposition that's self-evident. When in the realm of logic, the axiom would be a self-evidential proposition.
Okay, so what was it like? First principle is a self-evidently true proposition.
No, not a proposition. First principle would be that which serves as the predicate for everything else. It's the principle. It's the why for why.
Wait,
it just is.
Do you think a first principle is something that can be true?
It is why there's truth. Yes, it's true.
So, but the only things that are true are propositions. Propositions are truth bearers. So
No, they're not.
Do you know what a proposition is?
Yes, it's an assertion of an idea or concept.
No, a proposition is an expression that has a truth value. So
it can be a proposition doesn't.
Well, hang on. So if you say that there is an expression that can be true or false or whatnot, then it's a proposition.
Yes, I said within logic. Yeah, we're talking about when we're discussing something. But
okay, so first principles. Okay, so first principles are propositions then.
No, the first principles also pertain to things that are outside, like a rock or the law. Let me use laws.
Okay, so under the definition of propositions, where propositions are expressions that have truth values,
is the law of gravity a proposition?
What exactly do you mean by the law of gravity?
That space-time curves, and because of the curvature of space-time, massive objects have an invariant force.
Sure, that's a proposition.
That's not a proposition. That's
do you think that can be true?
You're confusing proposition with law.
Look, no, you're confused. Look, a law is a proposition.
Oh, okay. Is a proposition mind dependent? Is a proposition mind dependent?
What? I don't even know what you mean by that. But
is a proposition mind dependent? In order for a proposition,
I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay. But, does it require a mind for a proposition to exist?
I don't think propositions exist.
What is a proposition to you?
I've already defined this as a truth bearer.
But it doesn't have to be. That's what's classic.
It's a truth bearer. It's bearing truth to whom? On behalf of what?
I don't understand what you're asking me.
You said a proposition is a truth bearer.
Yeah.
What's it bearing truth to or on behalf of?
It's not bearing truth to anything. It's just something that has a truth value.
I think this is a nonsensical question.
No, it's not. It's like Cartesian doesn't understand what Placid is saying at all.
Okay, that's great. That's great.
Cartesian. Hold on. So there's a logical proposition. There are business propositions. There are value propositions. There are philosophical propositions. A proposition.
Wait, I didn't know the Earth is. Wait, the Earth is not a proposition.
The Earth is not a proposition.
That's what I just said. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. No one said that. Philosophical proposition. That. No, I didn't. I never said the Earth.
See, I'm telling you.
What did you say that?
I said there are logical propositions, business propositions, value propositions, philosophical propositions.
Okay, sure. Maybe I misheard you, but look, let me just go back to the point. So, a law, like you said, you kind of outlined the law of gravity. Yeah, that's a proposition. Laws are propositions. It doesn't follow from that propositions are laws. I mean, of course, sometimes there are things you might call laws and logic that actually aren't propositions, but that's like a different issue. I could get into that later. But whatever. But laws of gravity, like the one you outlined, yeah, if it's something that can be true or false, it's a proposition.
Okay, dude, fine. Let's just go with that. It's a proposition. Okay, what's next?
Okay, so it means so a first principle is a proposition that's self-evidently true. I understand that now. Now I'm trying to figure out how you're getting from that to God existing.
I'm saying that they would be one and the same.
You're saying you define God as a first principle?
Absolutely, yes.
Just correct me if I'm wrong. You think God is a proposition that's self-evidently true?
According to your definition of proposition, yes.
Okay, so what's an example of a proposition you think is self-evidently true?
Interrelatedness.
That's not a proposition.
How is it not a proposition?
That's a interrelate. That's a noun. Okay.
It's a noun.
Interrelatedness
Okay.
can't be true or false. That's a noun.
So you asked for a principle. Interrelatedness is a principle.
But we've agreed that first principles are propositions. Okay.
No, I agreed
You just
according to
mentioned
your.
something that's not a proposition.
I said that so that we could move on with the conversation because you're limiting propositions to a philosophical bubble. That's not the case.
The only constraint. Look, all I said was a proposition is an expression that has a truth value. So it's the sort of thing that can be true, false, etc. There might be more truth values. Okay. And you agreed that that's the sort of thing a first principle is, but interrelatedness is not the sort of thing that can be true or false.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
In fact,
That's like saying dog is true or false. It's just a noun.
No, here's what I'm saying. So when we talk about a principle, that which is serving as a predicate for a truth value, it's a fundamental truth.
What?
Yes, a principle is a fundamental truth that serves as a foundation for a system of belief.
For a second. So,
yeah.
You agree? So, do we agree that first principles are truths? Right? Do we agree?
We don't, but you are stuck on that. It makes no sense.
You said it's a fundamental truth. Now you're saying it's not one.
I'm saying that a first principle is the foundation for the fundamental truth, for every or any fundamental truth categorically.
Okay, so first principles don't have to be propositions.
According to what your definition of proposition, no, they don't.
Okay, so then it's not clear what you mean by first principle.
A first principle is a foundation that serves. It is the foundation for any truth value, categorically speaking.
What does it mean for there to be a foundation for a truth value?
So for a category of truth value, it would say 1 + 1 is 2. Okay, so the first principle is that there would be singularity, some sort of unit. First thing.
What? Hold on. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I got a clear definition. Like, can you clearly lay out what a foundation for a truth value is?
Yeah, a principle is the foundation for a system of belief, behavior, or reasoning.
No.
It is the proposition. It is a fundamental truth or proposition.
You just seem to misunderstand what I asked you. Okay, look, let's try this. What do you think is an example of a truth value?
An example of a truth value would be there is one.
No, you don't even know what a truth value is.
Go ahead and explain it to me. What's your truth value?
An example of a truth value is true. Another example is false.
An example of the truth value
Those are truth values.
Right. So when I say 1 + 1, 1 is true because it's axiomatic. It's true.
Hold on. Wait, no. 1. Okay, first, 1 is not a proposition. Okay, 1's not the sort of thing that can be true or false. Okay, secondly, 1 + 1 is not an example of a truth value. Examples of truth values are, one is true.
One would be, what did I say?
False.
What did I say?
Undetermined could be one.
You're not
Maybe
hearing
you could have degree theoretic truth values like 0.5, 0.6.
What did I say?
Logics that have those.
So you're not listening. You're literally not listening because I said 1 would serve as the principle for the truth value 1 + 1 is 2.
Well, wait, actually there's by 1, are you talking about like a Boolean sense, like 1 or 0, like in Boolean algebra?
Yeah. I'm talking about a singular, a unit.
Okay, let me make sure I understand. Like, you're saying 1 is a truth value. Use 1 in a kind of sentence when in a way you're saying it's like true. Or just so I can have an idea of what you're trying to say.
No. I said 1 is the foundation for the truth value that 1 + 1 is true. 2.
Wait, but what do you think 1 is there? Like, what is 1? Are you talking about the number?
1 is a representative of a singularity, of a single unit.
Yeah, but are you asking? Hold up. Okay, so here's what I'm not getting. it's not clear. There are actually ways you can understand 1 to be a true value, but it's not clear you're using it in that way. It sounds like by 1 you're talking about the number.
I'm talking about a monad, a representative of a single.
Oh, this is just gibberish.
What is 1 to you?
What? Why are you asking me stupid questions? Look, the point is that
They're not stupid questions. You're not making any sense.
Say we have like a bivalent classical
When
logic.
I say that there's a single unit to something.
Don't interrupt me with monologue.
No. I'm not.
Don't interrupt me with
No,
monologue.
I'm not going to be dissuaded with nonsense that you are interjecting.
Just let me know when you're done.
I'll let you know when I'm done. When there is a single unit of something, it is represented as 1. That is what is being stated. Very clear.
Okay, so for example, if we're using like a kind of bivalent logic, you can replace the truth values true and false with 1 and 0. So there are cases where in truth tables you might see true and false represented with 1s and 0s. Now, if that's what you meant when you were trying to give an example of a truth value, I agree. There's one sense where 1 could be a truth value. Okay, but it sounds like by 1 you're talking about something else. It sounds like you're not using it in the sense I just described.
In the sense in which it is either true or false.
No, what? Oh my! You're so confused. Okay.
I'm asking for clarity. I'm trying to clarify what you're saying. So in bivalent logic, you said in bivalent logic, right?
Yeah.
It could either be it can be a true proposition is either true or it is untrue. Is that correct? There is no middle ground.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I think you're asking me if I mean that 1 as a proposition is either true or untrue.
No, one is not a proposition.
Agreed. Given your definition, it is not a proposition.
Yeah,
I'm saying that it is.
Oh God. Do you understand? Okay. I'm not even sure you understand what I'm asking you. Have you ever seen 1s and 0s? Like, no, okay. No, I'm not. Sorry, I didn't finish my question there. I'm trying to figure out how to like sort of cut into this confusion. Okay, so can you give your understanding of what a truth value is again? Like, can you give like examples of what you think are truth values?
It's raining today. The truth value is that it's raining today.
Okay, yes. So you have no idea what truth values are. Okay, so that's the problem.
Explain it to me.
Okay, so you could think a truth value is just you could say it's a predicate that you can assign to a proposition, and it models the degree or quality to which the proposition is true or false, etc. Okay, that's what. So of course, basic examples, very simple examples of truth values are true and false.
A is A.
That's not a truth value either.
Give me an example.
I just gave you examples. Did you not listen?
Give it to me again. I didn't hear an example of the truth value. I heard a definition.
Okay, true is an example of a truth value.
Give me another example.
False. Do you need more examples?
Yes.
1, 0. Undetermined.
Understood. Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so let's give it one more example. The earth is flat. That has a truth value of false. The sky is blue. That has a truth value of true. Okay?
Red, blue, black, got you. Okay, yeah, same. So 1 and 1 being 2.
Yeah, 1. Okay, 1 plus 1 equals 2. That has a truth value of true.
Okay. Now, 1 as a... I'm saying that 1 not being a proposition, but would be a necessary component in order for that truth value to be done or to be made.
Okay. Are you just saying that in order for the statement 1 plus 1 equals 2 to be true, Like one has to be meaningful or something?
It would have to be existing, right?
Can colors be true values? He's saying they can't. No, okay. No, they can't. That's...
No.
Wait, hold
we're
on. Were you trying to say that, like, suggest that colors could be true values?
But no. I was saying I've just short the sentence and say the code is red. No, the code is not red. The code is blue.
Yeah, so...
It can be falsified.
So let me just make sure you understand that. Like, what do you think I mean? So can you give examples of true values under how I explain them, or just like...
Yeah, so you were saying basic, like, true, no, it's false, or false, no, it's true. Or like I said, blue, no, it's red, like the vase is blue.
No, okay, no, you didn't get it. Oh, no. Okay, so let's just be very careful here. So if I have a proposition, the sky is blue, we agree that that proposition is true, right?
Sure.
Okay. True is the truth value of that proposition. So the truth value is true. If I have a proposition, the earth is flat, the truth value is false.
The value of the proposition, understood.
Yeah, so the truth value there. Yeah, so for our purposes, you know,
understood.
Like,
so if the cup is empty, true, or the cup is empty, false. The truth value would have to be determined, but that would be the truth value. If we agree that the cup is empty, the truth value is that it is empty.
No.
The truth that it's true. I mean, not the truth value that it's empty, but that the proposition is true. That we would agree, yes, it's true. Or what is the truth value? It's false. Yes, but I'm using the logic in order to fill in the blank as to how we would arrive. But the truth value would be it's either true or it's false.
Right. So true. So for our purposes now, there can be more as you get more technical and logic, whatever. Let's just keep it simple. Let's say the only true values are true and false for now. Okay. So true values, true and false. Okay. Now, as I said, there might be more in different systems, but let's just try to keep it simple for now. So when I use the term true value, roughly I'm referring to like true or false, those sort of predicates that you can assign to propositions. And so the earth is flat, again, that'll have the true value of false. The sky is blue, that'll have a true value of true.
I understand. It equals either true or equals false. The value of it. The value of the proposition is either true or false. So you can say the
truth value of the proposition.
Yes, the truth value of the proposition. It's either is it true or is it false? The truth value. Is the value true or false? I understand. I get it.
Yeah. So the truth value. So okay, let's just give an example then. So the moon is made of cheese. What's the truth value of that?
False.
Okay, cool. So now I think you get it.
I get it.
Okay, so now let's just go back to the main point you're trying to make. So then you were asking about something about 1 + 1 = 2.
Right. So we would say that the truth value, we would say 1 + 1 is 2, true. Right?
That's true, yeah.
Got you. So what I'm saying is that in order for the proposition to be, we're talking the components within the one. It must exist. There must be one in order for me to have composed that proposition.
Okay, so you're saying there must be one as like some sort of object, like you're saying like the number has to exist somewhere or something. It
has to. Not that the number, that the concept must be recognized or agreed. I couldn't say Galigatha plus 1. You'd say what is Galigatha?
You're just saying there has to be some
sort
of well-defined. Yeah, you're just saying there has to be some sort of like well-defined concept there.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
That was first thing.
Okay. I agree with you there, but then how? So then, I want to make sure how does how does this relate to the original thing? So we're talking about first principles. I'm trying to figure out exactly what you mean by that.
Okay, so let's continue down that road. What is one?
are you asking like for a definition of one?
Yes.
I don't really have it. I mean, like technically, I mean, the only definition I could give, I could say, well, I could define it set theoretically. I could say, well, it's a set that contains the empty set. Like you probably
it's not an empty. It's so.
I didn't know. I didn't
Yes.
say it's an empty set. I said it's the set that contains the empty set.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Let's go with that. I understand set. So it would be a set. It would be the first. It's the
Wait,
first.
wait a second. Like you don't have to. Sorry, just. Are you sure you like? You don't have to say like you understand if you don't like.
No. I understand. I know what a set is, right? So if we have a set, you can have a set, and we can have numbers within the set, a cardinal number, like 8
Okay, fine.
things within a set, and
Okay,
then
but-
you know what I
But
mean.
if this language I'm using, if it's not like relevant to the point, there's no need to, because I think we both have an understanding of what the number one is, so we might not even need the language.
Right. The reason I ask is because I'm coming down back to axiom. So when I say one, and we take a look, we say one, then we recognize that it is self-evident. It is there is nothing more to define it. It is something that is just recognized. It's self-evident.
So are you just saying that a first principle is like a concept that's like that people obviously know what it means, so it doesn't need to be defined? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that essentially, yes. An axiom would be something that is foundational.
Well, I wouldn't call these axioms because like axioms are typically axioms in my experience either they're propositions or they're like schemas. And at least so typically they're not just taken to be like concepts. Either they're like schemas or propositions, as far as I know.
So they can be both, yes. They can be more than that. It's basically something it's like an axiom. Something that is self-evident, that has no other explanation. It has no predicate outside of itself, like a logical axiom.
Maybe you don't want to say like it has no other. Like maybe what you want to say is that the meaning of the concept is obvious, because like maybe somebody could have some rigorous definition of the number one, but like we probably don't need the definition in practice because we kind of know what the number one is. So maybe you don't want to commit to saying there literally is no further like definition.
Wait, so so an axiom would just be like if A equals B and B equals C, A equals C, right?
Well, he's trying to like he wants to say axioms are things that like aren't even like so like what you offer, that's an example of a schema, but he wants to say that axioms can be things that aren't propositions or schemas.
Yeah, I'm looking for so for example, logic, classic, law of identity. Law of identity would be axiomatic. A is A.
Well, okay, so okay, maybe this won't matter. I think I already have a rough enough idea of what you're trying to say, but I'm trying to figure out like so say I have an idea of what you mean by axiom, then what?
So I'm saying that what we were discussing is that the axiom there wouldn't be anything to draw again. There wouldn't be anything to compare to that axiom in order to validate the axiom. It would be self-validating. It wouldn't have anything that would substantiate it. That's true.
So, I mean, I'm probably not going to be like a lot of this stuff is like kind of unclear, and it take a lot of time to like clarify all the terms. Like I might not be able to continue this, but I don't know if like anybody else wants to.
No, that's fine. You don't have to. The point was that we were talking about God, and the concept, the core principle concept, is that God wouldn't, being the be-all, end-all, and the first principle, an absolute axiom, would thereby not have anything else to reference in order to be validated by. And if that's the case, then proof, there would not be something that could prove that thing.
Wait, wait? So are you saying that God being real isn't a proposition?
God
Yo, President, you should talk with Jack.
I could demolish you both. I could talk with you both. 2v1. It's comfortable.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, yeah. Talk with Jack for a moment.
Yeah. You can interject anytime. Yeah, I don't mind. What's going on, Jack?
No, nothing really.
It's good to hear. Yeah. God exists, man. What is your stance? You atheist? You agnostic? What are you?
Yeah, I'm an atheist.
Atheist?
Mhm.
Okay. So you believe in the absence of God?
Yeah, I don't think God exists.
So do you think you can ground concepts without a belief, without a grounding agent?
What's the grounding relation?
The grounding relation would be relative to objectivity. Anything objective?
I just try to understand what you mean by grounding.
Objectivity itself, like anything that we feel is objective within reality, is grounded within that connection.
It's not really going to help until I understand what you mean by grounding.
What I mean by grounding is anything that we have a conclusion on that is based on quote unquote facts or reality is grounded outside of our minds,
Look,
outside of our
keep using the word grounding.
our
I don't know
conception.
what that is. So A grounds B. What does that mean?
The mind, an objective mind of God, grounds all
I
conceptualized.
didn't ask you. I didn't ask you that. I'm just saying. Let's just take a hypothetical. A grounds B. What does it mean to say that A grounds B?
That means A holds the concepts that can initiate the conclusion of B.
A holds. So it's some kind of epistemic relation?
Yeah, like A holds all the concepts that allows you to get to B.
So is it different from entailment?
I wouldn't say so.
So by grounding you mean entailment, logical entailment?
Yeah, we can say so.
So you're asking what logically entails what?
I'm saying what?
You were asking some kind of question about could I ground something without God? What does that mean?
Yeah. So do you believe anything can be objective? Do you believe objective exists or not?
Objective? You mean like not mind dependent?
Yeah, non-mind dependent.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and what is the mind to you?
Well, it's going to be to some extent some kind of primitive concept, but kinds of things that minds do is have intentional and phenomenal states.
Do you think that's physical or non-physical? Do you think concepts within the mind? Do you think a mind can be physical or non-physical?
I guess I don't think that minds are physical, no.
Okay. So minds aren't physical. So do you then accept that concepts of objectivity are coming from the metaphysical?
Don't understand the question.
like, do you think metaphysics are the truth, or do you think the truth of objective comes from like a metaphysical immaterial concept? Like, do you think all truths are grounded in something immaterial? If you don't think the mind is material,
Well, by grounding, you said logical entailment, and I don't think all truths are going to be logically entailed by something else, because I think there are going to be some truths which are brutally contingent.
Based upon the what?
Like, why is it that I think that some truths are going to be brutally contingent?
If a mind is non-principal.
Well, because for them to be necessary, they'd have to be derivable from the axioms of logic. And if there were concrete facts that existed, they'd have to be derivable from the axioms of logic. But discrete facts are not derivable from the axioms of logic, so they can't be necessary.
Really? You're saying discrete facts are not
Concrete
derivable?
facts.
Concrete facts.
Yeah.
And what would you consider a concrete fact? Can you give me an example of a concrete fact?
Just anything that engages in causal relations.
Okay. And you say logic does not do that.
Well, I'm just saying that from the axioms of logic alone, you wouldn't be able to logically derive any concrete facts.
Well, are the facts of logic fit under the definition that you just gave, causal relation?
No,
So logic does not have causal relation within it.
that's right.
So logic is non-causal.
That's right.
Okay. So can you demonstrate a non-causal logical thing?
I don't know what you mean by a logical thing.
Well, can you demonstrate a non-causal? What is non-causal logic look like?
I don't understand the question.
Like you're saying, logic does not come. You said logic doesn't display a causal relationship. So if it doesn't display a causal relationship, that means it displays a relationship of its own self because it's not dependent. It's dependent upon itself.
I mean, there can be logical relations between, say, propositions, right?
Okay.
But those relations are not causal.
Ooh, so can a proposition exist without it being relevant to anything else?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Can a proposition exist on its own without relativity to derive its understanding from?
And God's nature, or absence of God's nature, and God's nature is just like the sorts of things that God essentially has. Okay, so sin is the absence of things that God essentially has, or God is things. Sin is things that God doesn't, essentially have. Well, then I guess maybe once we started like listing out things that God doesn't essentially have, maybe then I would get the concept. But
well, it's an absence in terms of, because he's all good. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say a lack of like having eternal foreknowledge is going to be sinful. It's not synonymous with all his attributes, just the attribute of being all good.
Oh, I guess then it just sounds like you're saying something like good is something not being sin, or where sin just means corrupt, but corrupt is just going to be like the absence of goodness.
I mean, I can't really give you like a tangible definition of what's good. It's just what's moral. I'm just telling you what's not.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not asking for like a definition. I mean, I think terms like good, bad, sin, they're like really hard to define. I don't know many people that can.
Yeah, we would almost appeal to mystery in the sense of what would be.
But what I'm concerned on more is just that I can get the concept. It doesn't even need to, like, maybe it could be communicated to me without a definition. Maybe there's some other way that I could understand it. But I mean, so far talking to like hundreds of people, I just don't know what good means independent of minds.
So do you know, like, we would say that this is a virtue of God creating us like in His image, right? Because we have like some biological calling to identify what's good and bad.
What was was there a question in there?
Like, you would say that how we're all philosophers, right? I mean, you could identify a mugging in the street as being unethical.
Yeah, I can identify a mugging in the street as being unethical.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have to have like prior empirical or like education on that to identify it. It's like a instinctual. It's like a primary instinctual calling, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But what I mean by
what about while you guys
there-
are just debating? I'm literally just like on Discord, just like texting
What I mean-
and scrolling through Instagram. Sorry, God.
Yeah, talking to
Oh,
your
you're good.
Discord
I was
kittens. Yeah, very Christian.
I was just saying that what I mean, like how I interpret the term unethical there when you ask me those questions is like, is this the sort of thing that I have like a preference against happening or that, I don't want to happen? That's how I'm interpreting.
It's not really stance dependent on God, because I see that, especially recently, people have had issues with, well, if like God is the objective standard, then sin is stance dependent on God. That means it's subjective. So how can subjectivity come from objectivity? And my point would be, it's predicated to the essence. It's not predicated to the mind of God.
Well, that's not the critique that I was giving.
So what would be like your critique, if you could, because you're not really wording it.
My critique is that I don't know what good means independent of mine. So like when you ask me those questions, I'm interpreting those normative terms like unethical in a subjectivist sort of way. I don't understand what they
you
mean.
say that your concept of, I would say broadly speaking, we have like this instinctual presupposition of what good and evil is. I mean, we can attribute like certain distortions of that being like chemical imbalances.
Well, I don't
say we have some like instinctual sense of what good and evil is.
I agree that I have an instinctual sense of what good and evil is, but what I mean by good and evil there is something subjective. It's not something objective. I don't even know what it means to say something's objectively good or evil.
Yeah, then we need something like an objective standard to clarify what is good and evil. We can identify what good and evil is conceptually.
Well, what is good and evil?
Well, the thing is, when it comes to bad, that's like sin, that's easy, it's just an absence of goodness. And I know that what goodness is just purity. It's an absence of corruption. So it's kind of circular in both their descriptions.
I mean, that almost sounds uninformative when you say, good is the absence of corruption, corruption is the absence of good. It's almost like if I told you asked me what a woman is, and I said it's things that aren't men, and you asked me what men are, and I say things that aren't women. Like,
yeah, I know, but it's difficult. You know what I mean? So I would attribute good as purity and grounded in God, because you would say that God is all good.
Purity, okay. And what does purity mean there?
It's divine order. Do you want to bump in here? Because I've never really... It's such a simplistic term to give.
Yeah, why the hell am I being tagged in, man?
Why are you
gonna tag me in right now?
Wait, what are you...
I didn't hear anything, brother. I was listening, and then I saw...
Okay, what would be your definition of good? Like, in terms of God being all good?
A definition of good.
Or a notion. It doesn't have to be a definition. Just like
my notion would be purity and an absence of corruption. But then I would have to, when I refer to what...
I would just say, like, complete absence of... well, no, it couldn't be complete absence of evil, because evil wouldn't be like a... what's my definition of good?
Yeah, the issue is both of we're going to be giving circular definitions, because in terms of, if we look at the opposing terms, we say sin is the absence of good, and if we say good is an absence of sin, it's circular. It's not identifying what's an absence of. Do you want me to pull up what the early church?
You guys don't have to. You guys don't have to like try to explain to me what it means. That's fine. I've talked to a lot of people and. Even
an atheist would have this issue as well, because what are you subjectively appealing to being good and evil? It's the same issue that an atheist would have as well.
I don't think it's the same issue. I mean, I can tell you if I say something's good, I'm saying that I have a preference or desire against it. If I say something's...
Yeah, and we'd say that's God in the sense that he's attributed as being all good, and that's his perception. So
are you saying that... Or are you saying that good, when you say good, you're just talking about like it's the sort of thing that God has a stance against? Or sorry,
it's not a stance against. It's just it'd be his perception. Because obviously he's the ultimate authority when it comes to what's moral and immoral, and his perception will be dependent on his nature.
If you're saying that you're using it in the same sense, like you're using the term good and evil in the same sense that I use the term good and evil, then
I'd be appealing to God. That's conceptually, it's similar what we're referring to as an atheist and a Christian, but it's going to be his perception of what's good and evil is a derivative of his nature.
Couldn't the definition of good just be? Couldn't the definition of good just be God? Because like under my
I'm pulling up what the early church was.
Like God would be identical to goodness.
If the definition of God is good, when you say something like, God is good or God is like essentially good, you just end up saying something like God is God or God is essentially God, or whenever God does something, he does the thing that God would do, which, I mean, I do understand what that means, but it ends up being trivial and it would cut against your ability to run like fine-tuning arguments, psychophysical harmony arguments.
Oh, I don't use fine-tuning. I don't affirm natural theology.
But because those arguments all use God's goodness to generate predictions, and if God is good is just a sort of
you could take a stance that God's what is good is stance dependent on God.
Right. That's fine. If you just say what's good is what stands dependent on God, then I understand what you mean. But it can't be subjective because it's his stance is a derivative of his nature. Whatever you want to call it, I'm not squabbling over whether to call it objective or subjective. My point is just that if that's all that you mean, I understand what you mean, but then saying something like God is omnibenevolent just turns out saying something like God always does the things that God has a stance towards, or God always does the things that God.
No, because his stance is going to be solely dependent on his. Because his stance is going to be solely dependent on his nature, that is, being all-knowing and all good. So it's always going to be a certainty on his predication or his stance.
That doesn't cut against what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that when you say God is omnibenevolent, you just end up saying something very trivial.
How would that be? I mean, if you remove that from the equation, then you would say that what God says is not what goes.
To say something like God always does the sorts of things that God would do, that doesn't generate any prediction.
I'm saying that his stance. No, I'm saying his stance is dependent on the fact that he's all-knowing. It doesn't negate the fact that he is all-knowing. I'm just saying that's where he gets his stances from. Because I'm just trying to mitigate the risk of you saying, well, that's a subjectivity, because it's not, because he's appealing to an objective nature.
Well, I'm not squabbling over what term to use. If you want to call it, subjective or objective, that's fine. My point is just that if good is meant to be,
it can't be subjective, right? Because he's deriving his stances from. You can't squabble on that. That's why I'm making sure.
I don't know how many times you want to disagree with the point that I've not brought up. It's almost like you're talking to the voices in your head or something.
Oh yeah, I hear 5 voices. One's Santa Claus, the other's Easter Bunny.
Yeah, maybe one of them is God or something. But
yeah, maybe it's the one that's great and mouthful Allah. Anyways, what's your point?
No, the only point that I'm making is that if you say that good means that it's something that God has a stance towards, then when you say something like God is all good, you just say something like God always does the things that God would do, or that God has a stance towards. And
good is what's moral, and what's moral is dependent on what God's stance is.
That just falls into the same thing that I just said.
Well, no, because you could say that for morality, yeah, sure. Because in terms of morality, it's like whatever says goes. So I never really appeal to morals in terms of arguing.
If God is all good means God is perfectly moral. Or moral just means things God has a stance towards. And when you say God is all good, you say God always does the thing God has a stance towards.
Yeah, what's the issue with that?
Well, I'm not saying that there's an issue in the sense that it's not understandable. I mean, what I'm saying there's an issue with is there's an issue if that's meant to be meaningful or contentful, that you're not actually adding anything there. All you're saying is something like, look, let me tell you about this friend I have, Fred. Fred always does the sorts of things that Fred would do. Like, that doesn't actually tell you anything about Fred.
Well, no, because you're being like general, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
But in the sense we're talking specifically, like good. We're just talking in the sense of being moral and being good. I mean, God has the potency to actualize anything.
But good means the sorts of things that God would do, or the sorts of thing God has a stance towards doing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you appeal to some objective standard as well. I mean, if we were to anthropomorphize that, you'd have the same issue.
Well, I don't try to like introduce information by telling people that I'm like generally good or something. I don't tell people like generally I do the sorts of things that Amdir generally does.
I say that again, sorry.
Like when people ask me to introduce myself, I don't like say, well, I do the sorts of things that I generally do, because I don't think that would give them any information about me.
I mean, in terms of this is being God, though, isn't it? Because ultimately, when we're speaking about the uncreated creator, he must be absolutely perfect conceptually. So I don't know why this is an issue predicated to God. I mean, in terms of you were to describing a human, yeah, you'd have that issue. We're talking about God.
I'm saying that whether you're talking about God or
and in terms of giving like more in-depth descriptors of God, would
maybe let me just ask this: what do you think is like the issue that I'm taking with this way of cashing out?
The issue is I'm being generalized and I'm committing like circularity in terms of the descriptors of God.
Well, I'm not saying circularity, I'm saying triviality.
Yeah, but I'm saying that, you know, if we're talking about an uncreated creator, he has to be conceptually perfect. That's why it's so trivial in my description.
What do you think that I mean by trivial there?
Well, you brought the analogy like, this is my friend is always right.
I said this is my friend does all the things that my friend always does.
Exactly.
Yeah, but does that give you any
in the sense that everything is grounded in God, right? We all derive from God.
Why?
That's why it's so trivial.
Yeah,
it's an essential property.
One second. One second. Why do I think that that's an issue in the friend case?
Because it doesn't give you like an expletive in terms of what he actually does.
All right, chat. Someone PayPal'd again. They said it's time. They're getting mad. To be fair, you guys have been going at it now for 45 minutes. Okay.
My goodness, I'm trying to prove God existence, man. I get it, man. I get it, right? But people are tired. Everyone would be Christian.
People are just like, yo, okay, listen, Andy, we can discuss another time. But thanks for coming up. Okay.
All right. I'll see you later, guys.
See you later. All right. 2 PayPals. Just literally, the first one said kick, and the second one said it is.